they're trying to almost reshape it to allow the rules to coincide more with the quarterback sneak. That's how I...
Did a bird just poop on you?
No, but I definitely looked down worried that they did. No, a leaf fell on me.
Sorry for interrupting you. You seemed a little scared.
Welcome into Scoop City. I'm the athletic senior NFL insider, Dianna Russini.
And I'm Chase Daniel, played 14 years in the NFL.
We appreciate all you guys checking us out, listening, watching us over on YouTube, subscribing, commenting, all of it. We've got so much NFL news to get to. Chase, I'm obviously not at home in New Jersey.
What a setup. I thought for a second you were at the Masters because of the flowers. I'm like, but the Masters isn't set yet.
Yeah, it's coming, and there are a lot of people that I've seen here at the owners' meeting who are heading to the Masters.
Straight there.
So I am jealous that I'm not going to be part of that. But look, I am in Palm Beach, Florida, for the league meetings, and this is without a doubt the best event in football. You have coaches, GMs, owners. They're here with their families. They're in meetings a lot of the day, but those meetings wrap usually around 2, 3 o'clock, and everyone's just hanging out. People are golfing, sitting by the pool. It's almost a little like mind-boggling at times because everyone is just normal. There's not as many boundaries as you normally have when you're covering football. So it's been great, and so
the country club crew.
It is the country club crew. I was trying to play a par 3 yesterday afternoon, but I didn't have enough time to get over there to do it. It was so cool because I drove by it and a bunch of older ladies out there together having a little girls trip playing, and I'm like, you know what, I want to do that. So I still may, but either way, we've got a lot of news to get into, G. So let's get right to it. Here's what I'm hearing around the league.
So Monday morning, Dianna, all the AFC coaches spoke. What was the head coach you were most interested in hearing, and where were you hovering? Because I've seen some pictures.
It's hard, right? Because they squeeze everybody in these round tables in it basically just looks like a storage box, and it's supposed to be an intimate setting, but obviously when you're covering all the AFC head coaches, you have to quickly figure out where you want to go because you only have 15 minutes and everyone's talking at the same time. So my thought was, let's head on over to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where the great Mike Tomlin was sitting, taking questions. This poor man
sweaty.
Was sweat. I was thinking, there's only one man that sweats more than him, and it's my co-host, my dear friend Chase.
I do.
The thing is, normally I will mock people that do that because I'm not a big sweater, and I don't understand it. Like, what are you sweating over? He had every reason to sweat this morning. Every reason. It was so muggy and gross, and everyone was. And it's the lights of the cameras, too, that are over him. And we were asking him a lot of questions about a lot of different topics, and obviously the biggest one being at quarterback. So we had to just be pretty direct with him on where do things stand on Aaron Rodgers. Here's what he said.
He's a free agent. As you guys know, he came to visit last Friday. We had a really productive day. He's been in this thing a long time. I've been in this thing a long time. But it's no substitute for, intimacy and spending time together and getting to know one another in a non-competitive environment. And so that was really good. But I don't have any new updates in terms of where the process is. We'll see where it leads us.
How unsettling is it, or is it, to not have this situation?
I'm really comfortable with being unsettled this time of year, to be quite honest with you. It's about talent acquisition. We got two main means of acquiring talent: free agency and the draft. We multitask. We do both. Those needs that we fulfill in free agency, we do so there, and when we don't, we fulfill it in the draft. And so I just learned over the years that this time of year, although day to day it can be somewhat uncomfortable, it is a process.
Well, it's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable because he's getting questions that he can't answer because he doesn't have the answer yet. He doesn't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. We obviously were trying to get a little bit more. Like, is there an understanding? Is there a day?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
a deadline.
Is there a deadline? Is there? I wish I asked him, like, give me a percentage that you think Aaron Rodgers is on your roster. May 1.
Yeah, he seemed pretty coy about the whole situation, but I don't know. I don't feel, if I was a head coach, I wouldn't want to feel uncomfortable, especially if I don't have a franchise quarterback right now. I'd feel uncomfortable if I go into the season with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson and a rookie quarterback maybe that they'll draft. So I don't know. I thought the comments were interesting. Just like, when is this going to end? Like that was my whole thing. It's like, when are the Steelers okay with setting a deadline? Because eventually they're going to have plans moving forward. I'm sure they have contingency plans, but like, I know Aaron Rodgers doesn't need to be at OTAs. I know Aaron Rodgers doesn't really need to, be past that. He probably needs to be there at training camp. But do you want to wait until training camp to sign him? Because he hasn't gotten the offense. He hasn't, I know he was throwing with DK Metcalf. I know he's doing all this stuff, but he hasn't been around the team. Like, it's just got to be a little uncomfortable, because it sounded like it was uncomfortable to him.
Yeah, he had a throwing session with DK Metcalf, and Omar Khan, the general manager, was asked about it, and he said, I wasn't there, but that's good if that did happen. I'd say that. Like,
he knew
not
it.
much, but, he knew it. He knew that happened, and which is great if this is part of the plan, if he's going to become a Pittsburgh Steeler. This is just a lot of flirting to me. Until he signs, this is...
You must have watched our show, because I said the exact same thing. It's a dating process. Well, first of all, the intimate conversation, that was hilarious. I'm like, you didn't have to use the word intimate, but I like what you're saying. And those conversations are probably like, how do you handle this off the field stuff? We know what you can do on the field, yada, yada, yada. What's your plan like? 1 year, 2 year? I'm sure the money situation has to do with it. And then you're flirting again with DK Metcalf. Oh, let me just go throw to DK Metcalf at UCLA. And it's like all part of the dating process. Eventually, though, you got to pick your girlfriend, right? Like, you got to have a pick. Is from your indications down there, do you think Rodgers is definitely playing? Do you think Tomlin is being coy, or do you think he really does not know anything?
My sense is the Steelers feel good about it, but there was a time when the Giants felt good about it, right? Like, I think Aaron is a player of all players in this situation. Like, I think he's telling them everything they want to hear, right? Like, the dating analogy is perfect in this, and I think a lot of people have probably dated people like this, where they're just telling you all these things and blowing smoke, and you're like, well, we're going to be together, and then nothing happens, because at the end of the day, words are words. And if you really care, and if you really want to be with me, then you're going to show me. And the only way for Aaron Rodgers to show the Pittsburgh Steelers is to show up and sign a contract and be with them. So I definitely get the sense that the people in the Steelers building, it's a matter of time. Whereas other people around the league aren't so sure. And I think they're not so sure because it's Aaron Rodgers. I think any other quarterback would be like, they'd probably agree with Pittsburgh. But I do think there's a belief that there could be a day where Aaron wakes up on the beach and is like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow.
So I don't think we're going to have an answer. And I can tell you whether Mike Tomlin claims that he likes being uneasy and uncomfortable. I don't buy it.
No.
Head coaches are control psychotics, especially
Freaks.
Mike Tomlin. So this is a lack of control and really waiting on someone else, unless he feels just that good. And they've had these, and he's even shared with us that he's in contact with him all the time. So,
do you think that money would be an issue? Because you said Aaron Rodgers needs to show them by signing on the dotted line. Can the Steelers show Aaron Rodgers, or do you think it's already sort of set in stone, the salary that he's going to have?
I think it's set. I think this is what the deal is. This is how we're going to do this. But it may be a situation, like you said, when you get pressed, things change. When you start getting pressed and you start hearing that maybe he doesn't want to play, and you throw a little bit more on it, right? So the quarterback conversation in Palm Beach in general has been pretty much everywhere for teams that are looking for them. And obviously all eyes were on Brian Callahan as well. The Titans table was packed with media because what are the Tennessee Titans going to do? I feel like one day we're hearing that it's definitely Cam Ward. The next day we're hearing they're open to trading out. Like there's a lot on the table. And Brian Callahan was pretty open and was like, we haven't made a decision yet. We have not decided who that's going to be. And,
really? Are you buying that?
I am because I did a little digging on it. I think. So his answer to the question of what are you doing with the number one overall pick was, we're open to everything. Okay, so that immediately tells you that they're going through the process here of trying to figure out what they want to do. You have a lot of new people in this organization right now. There's been a lot of change coming off a really bad season. Mike Bergonzi, obviously this is going to be his first big pick. First time GM, making the number one overall pick. quite the gift. And you have to. I always wonder about this, Chase. Like, how much is ego involved in this, right? Like, you're Bergonzi, and you're like,
Wow.
God, I don't want to trade out. Like, I want to make a pick. I want to get a quarterback. You know.
That's interesting to me, because if you do have that ego, because he came from KC, right? He's like, man, I've been touching gold for the last 5-6 years, especially with Patrick Mahomes. You know what it takes to win at the next level, or this level, and that's a quarterback, and that's something the Tennessee Titans haven't had in quite some time. So I'm interested, though, if they were to trade back, because to me the pick is Cam Ward. And like, I want to tell, if I was there and talking to Brian Callahan, I'd say, don't overthink this. Or to Mike Tomlin, don't overthink this. Yes, the best players in the draft are Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. But are they going to make an impact enough for, one, Brian Callahan to keep his job, and two, for you to win some games? I think Cam Ward can be that player. It's
such a strange time of year right now in terms of getting these evaluations of these quarterbacks, because a lot of the conversations that I've been having with teams in the lobby, by the pool, in the coffee shops, has been, is Cam Ward truly the best player in the draft? And I get so many different answers. Yes, he's the best quarterback, but there are many that believe that maybe the best option is to go with the board. But we know what the situation is in Tennessee. We know what the situation is.
You have to have a quarterback.
They need someone, right?
He's not the best player in the draft. He's not. Like, that's Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. Mm-hmm. He's definitely the best quarterback, and I think it's far. There's a big gap between him and Shedeur Sanders, and that's not being disrespectful to Shedeur. I just love the way Cam Ward maybe projects at the next level, because he does have that stuff in the pocket where you can make a miss. He does have that arm flare. He does have that flair for these amazing throws. Sometimes that comes in and bites him in the butt, this aggressiveness. But I just don't understand. Like, what would it take? What would it take, Dianna, for them to move off?
I think it's good business for them to keep this open. I think that's the point.
What would it take for them to move off the pick?
I don't know. They won't answer that. They won't tell you.
It would have to be a ton.
Correct. I mean, this is an organization that is trying to completely revamp and rebuild. They are tearing it down. They did not have a good free agency last year. They have so many questions that need answers and a lot of positions to fill. So I understand the argument from some in the building that I know would like to trade out because they want to build. But they've lived a quarterback.
No, go ahead.
They've lived in this quarterback situation where they don't have a lot of answers for a while. But I'd put it like this. I'm not sure if there's conviction yet. And that was my sense. I'm not feeling this conviction from Tennessee just yet. It seems, I mean, look, we saw Brian Callahan at the workout, and it's lights out. Like, he was so happy and loved what he loved what he saw. I'm just not feeling that yet. It's going to change. I'm just saying for right now.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. I hate when I do that, but it's just
I love when you do it because you're so excited and you're interested.
No. So here's my 2 cents, and we can move on after this. If you're the Tennessee Titans, because I've thought long and hard about this, if you're the Tennessee Titans and you are not taking quarterback, trade back. Okay, trade back. If you are the Tennessee Titans and you're taking quarterback, take Cam Ward, because Cam Ward's not going to be there. I guarantee you the Browns, if Cam Ward's available, might end up taking Cam Ward. But if you know for a fact you want the quarterback, you have to stick and pick. Now, if you're the Giants and you can move up and you're all of a sudden the Giants are like, oh, Cam Ward, and you can fall back to 3, you can then have your pick between Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. So that would be, and I'm sure that's probably what they're thinking, but it's an interesting fact that you said that you don't feel conviction yet.
Yeah, and then you have the Cleveland Browns, right, who it just appeared for weeks that they were definitely going to go quarterback. It just made sense. We know what the situation is with Deshaun. And then they go and sign Kenny Pickett. So how much does that change what they want to do in this draft? Is there a quarterback that they love? Stefanski was asked about it, and yes, he did speak very highly of Kenny Pickett, but he also shared that they're going to be meeting with Shedeur Sanders later this week in connection with his pro day. So they're obviously doing some homework here and trying to figure out if he meets the level of quarterback play that Kevin Stefanski is looking for. And I do think there's a lot of pressure on Cleveland right now to get this right. And I don't know if you would define right as getting the right quarterback here or making the pick of the best player available. And going back to what you said, we know who those guys would be.
Yeah.
And it's a win-win if you get one of them, one of the best players available in this draft, but they still have so many questions at quarterback, which brings us to Kirk Cousins, right? Is that a real thing for Atlanta to trade Kirk to Cleveland? From my sense, yes. It's
Wow.
a real. I don't know how far along it is right now. I just know there's enough smoke around this and enough conversations being had that this would not be a surprising move. Knowing Kevin Stefanski coached Kirk Cousins when he was in Minnesota, it makes a lot of sense on why that would work. But my biggest takeaway, and not to bury the lead here, was
No, you're good.
the first time I have heard Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, come out and admit this. He said, we took a big swing and missed with Deshaun, as in Deshaun Watson. We
Yeah.
thought we had the quarterback. We didn't. And we gave up a lot of draft picks to get them. So we've got to dig ourselves out of that hole. It was an entire organization decision, and it ends with Dianna, his wife. So hold us accountable. Like,
Surprising.
when do you hear that? An owner, because he has to.
It was very, very interesting because we haven't this whole time heard the actual owner come out and say, we made a mistake. We all knew it was a mistake, and we all knew that Deshaun Watson's time with the Browns was likely done, even though they paid him a ton of money for only a certain amount of starts. But I think that he almost had to say this, Diane. I feel like there was so much pressure on the organization that maybe it was other people's decisions, and he's saying, hey, it was. But I think it was an ownership decision, first of all, to continue to play him last year and not to move on from him because of the money. But there was this black cloud around the Cleveland Browns. There still is. But at least by saying this, it's almost like, hey, you broke it. And now it's like, all right, let's just move on and let's try to get this right. But this is, and he said, I mean, this is a huge draft for them, right? And so I don't know if you can, unless you're 1,000% sure, and this just goes back to me saying, Dianna, about the quarterback class in general for this draft. I don't think it's as strong as we've seen in quite a few years. And so if you're reaching at number 2 for a pick like Shedeur Sanders, you better damn well be sure that he is the guy for your franchise for the next decade. Because if you hit and you swing and you miss on this one after you missed on Deshaun Watson, that's why I think they're probably just going to go with the safe bet in Abdul Carter.
Yeah, I know it makes all the sense in the world, and Kirk can come in and comfortably run a Kevin Stefanski offense, and it's a win for this regime. And we've seen Kevin get a lot out of quarterbacks in the past, so I don't think it's a fail if Kirk Cousins. I think it's an upgrade, obviously. I know if I'm them, I prefer a veteran quarterback right now over a rookie quarterback that you're unsure of, that we don't even know is even a first-round pick, right? Because that conversation's been had. Is he really a first-round quarterback? And I think most think that he bottom of the round at least, you know?
Yeah.
At
You're
most.
talking about Shedeur. So
Yeah.
let me ask this, though, because you said the Kirk thing, because that's interesting to me, because we know he was up there visiting at Chipotle. They say it wasn't because Browns related. Yeah, right. Don't you think that Kirk would have a market, especially if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign with the Steelers? Like, how does this affect Kirk Cousins' market? Because now there's 2 teams, and if you're Kirk Cousins, who has a no-trade clause, don't you want to go to Pittsburgh with DK Metcalf and George Pickens over the Cleveland Browns? Because I think that might complicate some things.
I was having a conversation with a GM in their division about this exact situation of how are the Steelers not making sure. And look, Tomlin said they have plans in place, right? Does that plan include Kirk Cousins? What are they going to do if Aaron Rodgers decides to retire or wait Minnesota out, whatever he chooses to do? It makes a lot of sense from Kirk's side. And Kirk, in a way, because he has the no-trade clause and would waive it for the right team. And it's funny, Kirk has power again. How did this happen?
Yeah, no doubt.
Right?
That's crazy.
It was kind of a little bit of a pie in the face there. And look, in both places, he's going to play a lot, right? He's not going to have the situation that he just did in Atlanta. So we know that the Cleveland Browns pick at 2. I think we both are feeling right now that it's going to probably be best player available. We'll see what they decide to do over the next few weeks. But then you've got the Giants at 3. And General Manager Joe Schoen met with some reporters just to talk through the free agency process and the upcoming draft. And our athletic reporter, Dan Duggan, had some takeaways from it because he was in on it. I didn't go to that scrum at that time. But he tweeted his information and said, the biggest takeaway I had from his 20-minute session with reporters, he laid the groundwork for not taking a quarterback at number 3. Now, he might be being cagey because, everyone's trying to play games here. But he really hammered how he can't force the pick if you don't have the franchise caliber quarterback. I believe him. I think Dan's observation of Joe Schoen was fair. I think they are still doing work on these guys, but don't feel in love. I don't think anyone is in love with these quarterbacks because we've said this whole time, they're going to go quarterback because they have to. Their jobs are on the line, right? Like we've discussed this a million times.
Yeah.
They're going to have to find an answer because, look, you got Jameis, you've got Russell Wilson, but what's their plan? What was your takeaway from Shane's quotes?
I thought he was being cagey. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't know if... Yeah, I would actually agree with him when you don't have to take a quarterback at 3. I do think that's a reach for the next quarterback available, either Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders. Most people would say Shedeur. I think Jackson is creeping up in that conversation, not that high. But I think that's a reach in general. Not to say if Shedeur falls or if Jackson Dart is there at the end of round 1, you can't trade back up in. And my whole thing, that's a better value for it. You can still get Travis Hunter there, pair him with Malik Neighbors, put him on the defensive side of the ball. That is a way better pick. And you still have Russell Wilson, who showed he could play some good ball last year. My thing, and the reason why I said it last podcast or the podcast before, I do think they need to get a rookie quarterback because I don't think going 500 with Russell Wilson, a 36-year-old quarterback, I've said this before, or Jameis Winston, is going to save their jobs. They're in job-saving mode, in my opinion, right now. And how you do that is you draft a rookie quarterback and you show hope and you show you can develop him through the season. Now, 3 is really expensive. Not to say they can't find a guy. Dude, Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick. Yep. And you saw what he did his rookie year. Now, it was a great roster. The Giants don't have that. So you can still find a rookie guy if you fall in love with him to pick.
So you feel confident, not even confident, but you feel good that the Giants either way are going to come out of this draft with a quarterback. It just may not be a Shedeur Sanders or at 3, which makes sense. In the meantime, you have across town at the New York Jets. They're going all in on Justin Fields. What do you make of them just believing that Justin's the guy here, naming him the starter now?
I love it. And I listened to Aaron Glenn's comments. Thought he was a top-notch quarterback. And the thing that stood out to me the most, and I read through the whole transcript because I'm a big Justin Fields guy. I wanted to see how the team viewed him. The quote that stood out to me the most was he said, "Let him be a quarterback." And I'm like, man, thank you so much. They try to put this guy in the box sometimes, and meaning like you're trying to run offenses that he doesn't fit. And this has been my whole situation. And yes, Justin Fields is not a perfect quarterback. Yes, Justin Fields needs to get better protecting the football. Yes, Justin Fields needs to get better not taking sacks. Yes, he needs to progress faster. But they've seen enough in him. He said, Aaron Glenn said he went back to his Ohio State film and watched what he was good at and watched his pro film and watched what he was. He is a shotgun quarterback that can run with his legs, that can throw the deep ball accurately. Stop trying to put him in a box and put him in his under center play action quarterback where you only read half the field. Let this guy get out of the box. So that's what I took from it. And I'm like, could not agree more. They're showing a lot of faith in him, especially not only the contract, but those comments as well. I mean, he's definitely the starter for sure.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny because I feel like this time last year we were talking so much Jets, obviously because of Aaron Rodgers being there. And it's just really been a quiet offseason. And they'll be the first to tell you they did this on purpose. They want silence after what they've been through the last 2 years. Where I am hearing zero silence is on the Tush Push. Chase, we told you here on Scoop City last week that the Tush Push was gaining tons of traction in terms of the banning of it, right? And we talked about it here on the show. Well, now we're here. They're going to vote on it on Tuesday, so we'll have an answer as to what they're going to do moving forward here in terms of how they're going to propose it for the owners to vote on. But it is all the talk. It is all tush push. I'm seeing Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni. Everyone is talking about this. So when we get back, let's take a quick break. I want to dive into what I'm hearing on the ground. All right, back here on Scoop City, we told you a few weeks ago that the Green Bay Packers were the team that proposed that the league ban the tush push. Of course, we've seen the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely ace this. And when you think about it, you think them. And it's why right now, here at the owners' meeting, you're seeing Nick Sirianni, you're seeing Howie Roseman having conversations with all different people in football, and they're having these open conversations about what the tush push, why they should vote against getting rid of it, why they should be in favor of it. And there's a lot to unpack here. So, Chase, I just want to start with some of the coaches that we spoke to on Monday that showed their support of banning it. Sean McDermott, the Buffalo Bills head coach, kept pointing to the data that's been discovered, the health and safety of the players. There is no data.
There's zero data.
The data shows nothing. And this is the sticking point for a lot of the coaches and general managers in football right now, is why are we going to ban a play on the idea that maybe down the line people will be injured if the Philadelphia Eagles specifically have had, 300 and something snaps of running the tush push?
Yeah.
And we haven't seen any significant injuries. Mike Tomlin was interesting on this. He sounded like he was excited to keep continuing to discuss it, kept pointing to health and safety on this. And health and safety is the answer. Andy Reid, health and safety. But Nick Sirianni was pretty open with the media saying, look, we're going to see how it goes, but I want Jonathan Gannon, Kellen Moore, Shane Steichen. They better vote for this thing, right? Of course, they were all together when they were coordinators with Philadelphia. And I do believe those guys are in a position to, they are for the tush push, but this feels...
Did you hear what he said after? He said they are in the head coach position right now because of that play. How crazy is that to say that?
That's aggressive. I mean,
that's aggressive.
Part of it.
Oh my gosh.
Aaron Glenn added a little something to it. He said they've done a really good job of creating a play that's unstoppable. In my defensive coaching mentality, my job is to stop that play. Our job is to stop that play. I'll answer it that way. So we know where he falls on that, right?
Even DeBico had something like that too.
He did. It's funny how the defensive coaches, although I did speak with one defensive coach who said, why are you able to push on offense if you can't push on defense? In which I pushed back and said, well, you can push on defense. And he was like, no, you can't. I'm like,
yes, you can.
But I wasn't going to fight with the head coach. And he was a big one. Then I had another head coach talk about the way the tush push is essentially described in the rule book. And they want to see if the language could change.
Oh, that's interesting. In what way?
So I think right now they're in this gray area where I'm not sensing this is going to get banned or not banned. They're trying to almost reshape it to allow the rules to coincide more with the quarterback sneak. That's how I...
Did a bird just poop on you?
No, but I definitely looked down worried that they did. No, a leaf fell on me.
Sorry for interrupting again. I just was...
You seemed a little scared. I've never asked you this. Are you for it or against it? Like, if you were on the competition committee, what would you vote for?
I'm for it. Absolutely. It's a play that other teams, because the Philadelphia Eagles and even the Buffalo Bills run pretty well, but Philadelphia Eagles, it is unstoppable for the Eagles. You're banning it because you're jealous. Stop saying it's about player health and safety. I talked to a high-ranking team doctor, and he said, verbatim, there is zero data, so anything like that is BS. And I was like, oh, Okay, so that's true. I mean, you can't ban a play, in my opinion, because one team's really good at it and you don't know how to get good at it, and then you can't stop it. And that's the Philadelphia Eagles. I get what Sirianni's saying. It's a play. It seems soft to me that you're doing it. Like, I get it. I get we want to see touchdowns. I get we want to see this and that. And I said this even a month ago when you first brought it back up and you were the lead on all of it nationally. I was like, let's just think about not getting rid of it. Let's think about maybe limiting the times you can use it. Okay, what about you can't use it inside the 2-yard line? So you can't just keep doing it for touchdowns. Or you can only use it on 4th down. You can't use it on 3rd and short because teams want to see and players want to see and fans want to see people going for it more on 4th down. Like, what about if you do something like that? Like, so when you said wording, that's where my mind first went. And it just, to ban it fully outright, first of all, people don't understand. You need 24 teams out of 32 to vote against it. And I just don't know if you're going to have the sheer number of votes. Like 24 teams are going to vote against it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it has a better chance this time around than it ever has. While you were talking, I just texted a coach who I hadn't seen and asked about it. And I said, hey, what's your vibe on the Tush Push? And he wrote, as it's currently written, I would say I'm opposed to it. So it goes back to the point you just made. I think the way it's written right now is the problem. And how is that going to be adjusted in order to
just how? Like, first of all, if they do adjust it, Dianna, it's going to be almost impossible to referee. Depending on the words they say, if they're like, oh, you can't immediately push. Well, what's considered immediately? Like, do you have to wait a second and then you push? I think it's much more enforceable if you do have a certain set time you can use it.
Yeah, and I've heard people bring that up. In the meeting that they had on Monday, I heard there was a coach or a general manager who said exactly that, immediate. What is immediate?
Yeah.
And how do you officiate that? So we'll see how this goes. I am still a little surprised that maybe even by the time you're consuming the show and you're listening, the vote has come down already. But the fact that it was
what's your view on it? Like, what's your take and sort of like, do you think it passes?
I don't think it's going to pass this time. I think it's going to be close though. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be closer than we think.
Are the votes anonymous?
Yeah.
Put your name behind it. Like, if you're going to ban a football play, you fan on those Packers, of course.
You're gonna love that. Yeah, so we'll see where this goes. I just was surprised that at this. Look, how much does it have to do with the fact that the Eagles won the Super Bowl? Don't you think it's weird that Sean McDermott is against it, yet his team does it so well?
They do it the second most and do
correct.
it well.
That was surprising to me. I thought he would be on the other side to it.
Classic defensive coach, I guess, right? But there were 2 other defensive coaches that were I don't know. It's hard to read.
I know, it is. So we'll see where this thing shakes out. And on the next show, we'll dive into and discover and find out who was in on it, who was against it, and if they even delay it. So let's take a quick break. It is, without a doubt, my favorite part of the owners' meetings, the coach's photo. I wonder if they know how awkward and ridiculous it looks. They have to. They follow
some of their fashion choices too.
It's the fashion. It's the smiles. So I figured that we would kind of rip through some of them in a nice way. We won't be mean. We'll be nice. Oh, by the way, I talked to Nick Sirianni for a while about some of our harsh opinions from the past season.
Oh.
First of all, he was awesome. He was so cool about it. He's like, you have a job to do. You guys need to be doing that. I get it.
How did that get brought up?
It was actually amazing. So it was me, Jeff Darlington, and Adam Schefter from ESPN in the lobby just catching up, and Nick came over. And Nick's always very kind and warm and Italian. You know, they're all the same. How you doing? And Schefter goes, wow, like, I didn't know you guys, knew each other so well. He's like, well, we get along great unless she says things about me. And I was like, oh my God, I freaked out. But I was like, Nick, I think that at the time we were criticizing you on Scoop City, it was because I believe that the team, the roster were built to win a Super Bowl. And at the time, I didn't think that you were doing some of the things that were going to get them there. And I was critical of it. But guess who won the Super Bowl? You did.
God,
you won the
that's
argument.
Such a great answer.
I had to apologize. By the way, he didn't even want the apology. He was awesome. He was so cool. And look, when you win, you don't care. And he said that. He's like, a lot of this is, he's like, I know what I signed up for. I'm the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. But it was just so cool to have that conversation with him and not fight and just be respectful. So shout out to Sirianni for being a stud. Maybe we'll get him on the podcast at some point in the summer when we visit training camp. So let's take a quick break and then we'll do the coach photo and wrap this thing up. All right, back here on Scoop City where it was picture day for the head coaches in the NFL. Chase is already laughing, I'm looking
at it. I'm just like, I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
All right, there's so many different ways we can go about it, but before we go into it specifically, give us your no pun intended, your big picture takeaway of this photo.
Well, the big picture takeaway is how many solid colors there are. Like, no one's stepping outside the zone other than the 2 Super Bowl coaches. Everyone else, other than, well, Vrabel too, but Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni are in somewhat of a pattern. Every other person is a just flat color shirt with some like trousers. It's like such coach.
I love the fact that Pete Carroll looks like the uncle of the Harbaugh brothers.
He looks young, dude.
Right? And he's stuck right in between them. And it's just funny that he's seated right there.
So, oh yeah, like why can't the brothers sit next to each other? The next biggest thing, staying on that, how bad does Kyle Shanahan look?
I think
he looks
fantastic.
hungover and tired.
No, Kyle looks like he was in Cabo. He looks tan. I saw him in person.
Look at his eyes. He looks so tired.
My other takeaway from the photo is when they said cheese. By the way, that alarm that you're hearing is because a very big thunderstorm is coming in, and I think that's an emergency of you got to scatter.
It's not a tornado siren?
It's I don't know what it is, but people are running.
You're freaking out.
So I think when they said, like, say cheese or 1, 2, 3, that person was camera right? They were away from the
100%.
lens. Because if you look in the eyes of Brian Callahan looks like they just told him, you are not allowed to have an opinion in the upcoming draft. Right?
You were your youngest rookie head coach.
Like, you are not allowed. You did not win a game.
Well, also, Dave Canales looks like he can still play. Or he can play ball. Like, look, dude looks freaking jacked. And actually, this is so funny because Dan Campbell, first of all, huge, but also like tall T City. Look how big that shirt is that he's on.
I don't know why that is so large, but it's probably one of those you don't want to wear the tight shirt because then you're Sean McVay, right? Sean usually wears those. Sean McVay used that same smile for like his grade school photos. Like, he looks like a little boy in that photo. I mean, he's not even 40 yet, so.
First of all, Sean Payton, love him. He's aged. Why is he smiling like this?
Why? Sean looks
I don't get
nervous or scared. Sean McDermott thinks he's taking his high school wrestling photo. Right?
Shane Steichen has lost a lot of hair since he's become a head coach.
I saw him at the coffee shop, and I got to tell you, it took me a second to recognize him. But then I did. He's awesome. He's another great guy. Liam Cohn, the Jacksonville Jags head coach.
Right next to the Bucks head coach. Like, what are we doing, Todd Bowles? And that whole situation, that's awkward city.
I just don't know if I've ever seen Liam Cohn and Arthur Smith in the same room at the same time. They look identical in this photo. Daboll looks like...
And honestly, Daboll... Okay, what does Daboll look like? Because I had my words. What do you think?
I'm not sure if I'm going to be the head coach of the Giants in November.
That's rude. Okay, first of all, you're getting fined if you're a head coach society. You're wearing team gear. You're the only person wearing team gear.
Oh, he is wearing team gear.
He's wearing a Giants zip-up. Absolutely not. That's bad news.
I love the fact that Sirianni showed up to the team picture with a hat, but they made him take the hat off. You see the hat down by his feet?
And another thing, too, I noticed, Andy Reid usually in shorts. Lost the Super Bowl, decided to be in pants for the first time.
Oh, trying to change it up. All right, well, let's go the other way. Who nailed this? Like, Vrabel's setting the edge there. Dan Quinn is...
LaFleur. LaFleur is good. I like LaFleur. I like Dan Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
McVay.
Aaron Glenn looks great. He looks happy.
Somebody, I think his Big Cat said McVay, LaFleur, and Canales were the Hot Boys Club. I'm like, yeah. Makes sense.
Well, they're so young. They should be. But
Yeah, I think McVay probably gets an A+.
Yeah. Zach Taylor's happy that he's got some weapons on offense that are going to be happy and keep his quarterback happy. That's what he looks like in that.
And yes, we also know that the top right, second from the right, that is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, just so we know.
Oh, because some people are probably like, who is that?
Some people are like, who is that? That is Brian Schottenheimer.
I think there are people out there who will skim that photo and wonder who some people are for sure. It's like even when I see them in person, like it took me a second to see Mike McDonald. I
struggled with that one.
Right?
Yep.
The Seattle Seahawks head coach. I'm like, yeah, that's Mike. It happens. But every year it's a blast. I wish they would just have fun with it, all just like stick their tongues out or just do something ridiculous just to be like, you know what?
Could you imagine?
They can't win. That's the thing. They can't win in this. Like, we're going to make fun of them. And,
yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally.
All right. So that'll do it for us here. Ooh, wait, hold on.
We got thunderstorms coming in. We got Dianna losing her ear.
Sorry, I'm back.
You didn't hear me.
It's the wind.
We got Dianna losing her ears. We got thunderstorms moving in. We got sirens going on.
This is what you do when we're down on the ground and we're live in action.
Good job for you
getting
getting
Scoop
it done.
here in Scoop City. So thanks so much for hanging out with us. Leave some comments if you've got some questions before I leave Florida. Let me know and I'll run around and see what kind of intel I can get for Scoop City, especially for the next episode. And we'll have some answers to some of these proposals coming up. So thanks so much. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.